Hey, it's Soleil, and this is episode 206 of the Orange Pill Investor. And I'm going to do a little bit of a room reset. And I've been all over the place. I started out, laying out the strategy. And then I felt like I kind of had done enough videos about that. But anybody that's coming here new and is just kind of seeing the late stage content I've been producing is probably missing all of the original crap. And with over 200 episodes, I can barely even point people in the right direction. So I'm just going to start over with the wheel strategy and go over that. And then I'm going to go over some of the evolution that I've gone through since then and just try to put it all into one video. And I may just try to power through this and make it short and sweet. And this can be like the go-to one-stop shop video for what I'm doing here. Not financial advice. I take some pretty significant risks with a lack of diversity, no diversification whatsoever. There ain't no DEI hires here, and so it's almost all MicroStrategy, a little bit of Tesla, and some of the Bitcoin miners. When there's just a little bit of buying power left over, or in a small account, I'll use the Bitcoin miners. But they're all either Bitcoin derivatives or, to a lesser extent, Tesla. Even though they own some Bitcoin, I don't consider them a Bitcoin derivative. But I'm bullish on Bitcoin. If you're not a Bitcoiner or a Bitcoin maximalist, whatever, you may not you may not be buying into what MicroStrategy is selling, but you can do the wheel strategy with any stock. It's just not going to work as well for stocks that aren't very volatile. So I don't sell covered calls against Nvidia or Apple or any other horseshit. So with no further ado, step one of the wheel is to sell a put. So if I was starting from scratch, I might go in here, and generally, if I'm going to sell at the money puts, this is going to give me the most premium. So this is going to reduce my cost basis by the most, but it's also the most risky because if MicroStrategy, drops $10 a share, then my cost basis is 132 minus 4. I still think that this is more effective than placing a limit order, because if I want to buy this for 132 and I put a limit order in for 100 shares, and the price never goes below 132 again, now I'm obligating $13,200 of collateral, and I'm owning nothing, and my money is not appreciating. It's just sitting there with a limit order. So if I'm comfortable with buying 100 shares of MicroStrategy at 132, boom, I can smash this. I can collect $450, which lowers my cost basis down to $127.50. So even if the price of MicroStrategy does collapse, it would have to drop below $127.50 to cause me to lose any money, which is what this break-even column here is. This is the price at which MicroStrategy would have to go below in order to start technically losing money. So step one of the wheel, continue selling puts until until the price drops below your strike, and then you are exercised upon and then forced to buy 100 shares at the strike that you chose. So you should choose whatever strike price you think is fair. If you're like, nah, I don't want to buy MicroStrategy below 130, okay, sell the 130 strikes. You can't collect as much premium here, 368, but your break even is going to be lower. So the price of MicroStrategy would have to go below 126.32 in order to technically start losing any money. And you'd continue to do this, and so the only one of two things can happen. Either price goes below here and you're assigned 100 shares, at which point you would go to step 2, or you just stay on step 1 forever and you continue to sell covered calls somewhere below the share price into infinity and collecting some premium. Oh, my nose is itching. What in the hell? All right, so which is definitely better than just setting a limit order, because it may never fill and you may earn nothing. You get no ROI on a trade that doesn't happen. So let's assume that we got assigned 100 shares of a stock. Now we own shares. Instead of using cash as collateral, we use the 100 shares as collateral and we sell a covered call. Let's assume that our cost basis is 132. We got assigned at 132 and the price is 132. I could get extremely aggressive and sell an at the money covered call for next week. This would reduce my cost basis down another $4. So now my cost basis would be at like 120, 128 minus 4, 124. And if my shares get called away at 133, then I'd make $9 a share, $900. And then I would go back to step one. My shares got called away. Now I could continue to sell puts here. Now, generally when I own the shares, I'll be a little bit less greedy with the premium. And let's just say that MicroStrategy, I'm just going to guess, okay, maybe it'll go up 10% this week. So I'm going to add $13 to this share price and go up to, let's do 145. Now I'm only going to collect $1 in premium, which is not quite 1% of the share price. 1% would be $1.30. So that's a little less than 1% a week. So I might drop it down to the 144. This is collecting 1% returns every week, which is 52% of the year if you can get it. Nothing is promised in the stock market, but that allows some call-away value. Call-away value is the distance between the share price and the strike price that you've chosen on your covered call. That's the amount of value that you can accrue if MicroStrategy pumps. If there's a nice rally and it goes above 144, you will profit all the way to 144, and then you'll stop profiting past that. Again, it's going to show your break even. The break even is going to be this strike plus the premium that you received. You're going to keep selling covered calls and covered calls and covered calls until eventually your strike is breached, which it should, because if this is 85% chance of profit, that means 15% of the time your strike will be breached. Down here at the money, it's going to happen 2 out of 3 times. So it shouldn't come as a surprise when your strikes get breached and then your shares get called away. If you don't want your shares called away, then you shouldn't be selling covered calls against it, or have a shitload of buying power in order to be able to pay to roll. So that's step 1 and step 2. You just sell puts until assigned, then you sell covered calls until those are exercised and called away, and then you just go back to step 1, step 2, and it just cycles back and forth, round and round in a circle. That's why it's called the wheel. So previously, when I would collect, like if I sold a put here and collected $450, I would just buy 3 shares of this, and now I've got 3 delta uncovered. So now I have unlimited upside in 3 shares. And then the same thing with here, and that's why I was trying to collecting 1% on my covered call at least, because then I have enough buying power to buy an extra share. Now I have 1 additional share uncovered. So I'm selling short on a high volatile stock, and then using that money to gain additional long uncovered infinite possible upside positions. And eventually, if you're collecting 1% a week and you own 10,000 shares of something, then eventually you'd be able to not just sell a little bit of premium and get 1% a week. Then you'd be able to purchase an additional 100 shares a week with that 1%, because 1% of 10,000 is 100. And then you're going to be adding an extra covered call every week. You're not just adding a few shares, you're adding an extra covered call, and you can get an extra 1% on your extra 1%. And that's when returns start to get exponential. They start accruing basically like compound interest, reinvesting 100% of the profits. But I've evolved since then. Instead of just buying shares, going to go out to, I think I've got some of these December 19th ones. You pay full price for delta. Delta is the amount of increase of your position when you buy one share. You know, if the price of the stock goes up $1, you get an extra $1. But long options are a little bit different, and you can actually control more delta. You can control more shares of a stock by buying these way out of the money long calls. So for the same amount of money, let's go to the 13. Oh, none of them are that cheap. All right, let's go to April. This isn't quite a year out, but and it doesn't go that high. All right, so let me just go to 6 months. This has got to be, yeah, here we go. Okay, so for approximately the same price, so for 100 shares, which would be 100 delta, you can get 10 of these option contracts, which would be 3.3 delta, but this is options. So this would actually be controlling 300 and something delta. So you'd be actually controlling more shares of MicroStrategy by buying these cheap, out of the money long calls. And you can see that I have a couple of these. So in this small account, I have 2. So that's like, it's almost 0.1. I have 2 of them. That's 0.2 times 100. So this is controlling like 20 delta, but 20 shares would cost, you know, way more than that. $2,000, 2,600, something like that. So that's what I've started doing. And, you know, not financial advice, but if you're not bullish on MicroStrategy because you're not bullish on Bitcoin, then this wouldn't be necessarily something that you would want to do. But if you're bullish on something else, you could certainly do that. Yeah, that's basically it in a nutshell. Sell puts until assigned. At a strike price that you feel comfortable paying for that stock. Sell covered calls, preferably above your cost basis, until those shares are called away, and then rinse and repeat. You can use the money that you collect to do whatever you want with. I intend to make a living out of it and just have, you know, quit my job and have no other income. I'm technically the money that I make weekly, you know, doing this has recently exceeded my current pay at my job. So I could do this and not take a pay cut, but I'm going to milk it a little longer. Hopefully MicroStrategy will pump in 2025 along with Bitcoin. And then I can put in my 2 weeks or whatever and just support myself selling options. All right. I think that is it. Hopefully that was short and sweet and is a good starting place for new viewers. All right. Be good, y'all.